Hello, friends and beautiful people. It is Catherine. I wanted to maybe shed some light on something that either you don't think about, or maybe you, like a lot of other folks, kind of misperceive, and it doesn't hit the mark as it should. When we think about emotional mastery, a lot of times we'll think of that as controlling emotions, being able to be in a place where your emotions don't control you. And while that's kind of sort of true to a certain degree, emotional mastery really is often misperceived. Emotional mastery is about the ability to sit with the tension of difficult emotions, of difficult levels of contrast, unwelcome contrast in our lives, and be able to not try to resolve it immediately right away with the ego. Hi, Kara. Hi, Christine. Hello. So when we are masters of our emotional states, what it really is it's a type of maturity. It's emotional maturity. And the same level of mastery that comes with emotional maturity lends itself to spiritual maturity. And you can't really have one without the other. You can't have emotional maturity without spiritual maturity. They feed each other, they overlap, they inform each other. And so it's not about, when we think about being the masters of our own domain and being able to move through emotional states in the highest and best way possible, it's not just about moving from one emotion to the next. It's not about being in an uncomfortable emotional place and saying, well, I'm just gonna choose higher and better. When we are masters of our emotional world, we're able to sit with the tension. We're able to sit in that space of being uncomfortable. And we are able to then move through it and come to the other side simply because we could sit in the tension without the ego's need to resolve it immediately. And it's always the ego's need that makes us want to resolve something uncomfortable. We want to get out of that suffering, that struggle, as quickly as possible. That is always an inclination and an impetus that's going to come from the ego. It's not going to come from your intuitive sense, because your intuitive sense knows that the more that you're willing to expand into that space of the uncomfortable moment, the more you're willing to sit with the tension. That's when there's a state that comes in that I like to call suspended wonder. Suspended wonder is everything that opens up on the intuitive level of you to let you know how to move out of that problem in the highest and best way possible, how to successfully journey through the discomfort, journey through the contrast, towards making the highest and best decision and how to proceed forward. And not just the highest and best decision for you. No, the intuitive self doesn't stop there. Not when it informs you at this level. It informs you how to make the highest and best decision for yourself, those for all involved, the highest decision for all involved, and with the least amount of resistance for all involved. Because you see, when you sit with the tension and you're willing to hold that space, what you expand into is way beyond the reach of what the ego can offer you in terms of a solution. In fact, the ego really isn't solution-based. It's not that energy at all. The ego is there to orient you. And we've created a lifetime of orienting ourselves out of the least comfortable situations. And so it could be said, in a very general way, that a lot of us who are living ego-led lives are living lives where we want to constantly, even though we're interfacing with uncomfortable moments, move out of them as quickly as possible, but not learn anything from being in that space. And so when you start looking at the ego perspective versus the intuitive perspective, and those two different kinds of levels of thinking, you realize, well, shit, how many times in my life have I made decisions to just try to move out of the discomfort as quickly as possible? But then I found myself in that exact same situation over and over again. Maybe different role players, but I found myself in eerily similar and eerily familiar situations over and over and over again in my life. Because you didn't allow yourself the expansion of being in the tension long enough to move elegantly into solution-based energy. And when you can be in the tension, that is emotional maturity. That is spiritual maturity. And there's a persona that is often overlooked, that when we're able to merge with this energy, when we can connect with this essence truly, we personify the energy of emotional mastery. The sage woman, you might previously have known her as the crone. I don't call her crone anymore because I think that's a woefully short-sighted way of looking at her, describing with her, connecting with her. So the hag, the crone, that would be the old earth paradigm of looking at sage woman energy, of sage woman vitality, sage woman, wise woman essence. And we all have an inner sage. And we all have an inner sage woman. It doesn't matter what gender you identify with. We all have this as key codes in our DNA. And by certain habitual ways of acting, believing, thinking, feeling, we can merge with her essence more often and be in this place of emotional maturity. So we all have something to learn from her. We all have DNA and key codes that are ready to be illuminated and awakened so that we can start enacting boldly this aspect. We could do it now. Hi, Lori. So this is a powerful energy to merge with. And what's really interesting about this energy of the crone, the hag, the wise woman, the sage, her energy is so often maligned. It's so often misperceived and misconstrued. And it's often because of her association with shadow themes. But we don't learn anything in life. We don't learn anything or know anything about ourselves truly and deeply, and thus we're willing to walk through shadow. And what's unique about this persona is that sage woman walks through shadow without fear. She is unattached to the shadow, which is a much different way of approaching shadow themes in our life. When we're unattached to even our connection to the shadow and we think that we have this shadow self that we might be afraid of, it only and ever has something to teach us. That shadow only and ever has something to illuminate within us about who we truly are, about the depth and profound nature of who we are in our core truth. And when we connect with Sage Woman, we connect with that. And so when this force is awakened, it is a primordial, instinctual energy that has deep and ancient earthly, earthbound knowledge connected to it. There is so much to know about her as a master timekeeper, as a placeholder on this planet in that respect. There's so much to know about her as the great mistress of shadow. There's so much to connect with. There's so much we don't know about her simply because we've been afraid of her and she's been maligned for so long. But when I really started embracing this aspect of myself, and when I really started to help my clients move through this aspect of being in the tension, being willing to be open in this expanded space of being in the tension, because it only and ever leads to solution-based energy, that's when we really find our power. That is when we really are in our unfuckable with essence. And I want to share that with you. And I really hope you'll come and join me tomorrow for Muse of the Sage Woman. This is going to be a very unique masterclass, and then energy activation, illumination, calibration that I know you're going to enjoy. And quite frankly, I don't think there's anything else out there like it right now. And so if you feel called to this, it's a $55 investment. If you cannot make it live tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific time, this is August 2nd, you have access to the replay when you sign up. So you can watch it whenever you like. And you can rewatch it over and over again, even if you do join us live. So I hope to see you, ladies and gentlemen. You're both welcome to this beautiful calibration and a coming together. And it is very much a group activation, because when we ignite this and illuminate this, all of us coming together individually and sharing this in a group space, we ripple this out in a very profound way to the planet, as was always meant to be. So lots of love and peace. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.